In a highly anticipated announcement, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz now says he fully expects the federal immigration crackdown, which has been wreaking havoc in his state, to come to a close in the next several days. Walz says he recently spoke with border czar Tom Homan and the White House as well, and that based on those conversations, he's hopeful that the Trump administration's aggressive, what he calls retribution campaign, is finally winding down at long last. Nice try there, Timbo, but it's a law and order campaign, not a retribution campaign. He also says that right now his team is definitely in what he calls a trust but verify mode. However, he also says he anticipates receiving word in the near future that the ICE occupation of the Twin Cities area is ending once and for all. Additionally, the governor says his expectation is that the border czar himself will soon step before the cameras and announce to the entire world that he's finally shutting down that entire operation. Also, in another encouraging sign of cooperation, Walz says he also now believes that his state will actually participate alongside federal officials on joint investigations, and that's into the shooting deaths of protesters Renee Good and Alex Preddy, which was previously a major point of contention, as you might imagine. So, Walz made his comments at a press conference in which he also railed against the economic impact of the federal immigration enforcement surge on the Twin Cities area. Now claims that as a result of the crackdown, the entire local restaurant industry has suffered enormous collateral damage, in part because both customers and employees alike, they're afraid to leave their homes. Well, another good try there, Tenacious Tim, but wholly inaccurate. More on that shortly. In the meantime, ICE agents are still hard at work and doing their jobs throughout the entire Twin Cities area. And right now, they're taking it up a notch by detaining and arresting any so-called legal observers, in other words, professional agitators, who use their vehicles to impede ICE operations in any way. In other words, get out the way. And peeking ahead, when he finally leaves office later this year, Walz is likely to leave behind a legacy of failed oversight and widespread fraud to whoever eventually succeeds him. They're going to have a lot of work on their plate. Despite the fiasco of his entire regime, however, the current favorite to replace him is fellow Democrat Amy Klobuchar, who for the time being is polling significantly ahead of My Pillow founder and potential Republican candidate Mike Lindell. I like that Pella fellow. Our final thought, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. As with most things in life, there's good news and there's bad news. And as that Bruce Almighty fellow once said all those years ago, that's how the biscuit falls apart, or something like that.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Well, I was kind of close. Hey, first up, the good news. As the great American patriot and legendary, honest, and trustworthy Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says, the immigration crackdown in his state is beginning to wind down. I might be right, but until the Trump administration or the border czar Tom Homan makes that official announcement, more than 2,000 federal agents still on the ground and performing their assigned duties. So, the avuncular one, Uncle Tim, Governor Walz, has also made it clear that the state is now cooperating more appropriately with the feds on a variety of levels. And just thinking out loud, but if they'd done that initially, this whole operation would have been far more effective. There would have been less chaos and violence on the streets. And perhaps those 2 unnecessary deaths could have been avoided. Briefly, just enough time for this FNA. That's called the Fake News Alert. The Timinator recently said that the restaurant sector in Minneapolis has suffered a downturn in business because folks are afraid to go out due to the immigration crackdown. Well, that's entirely false. Illegal immigrants who are breaking the law and afraid of being arrested and subsequently deported, they might be afraid. Other folks, I don't think so. Not so much. By and large, that is the good news. Here's the bad news. In all the confusion, I guess the guy we all affectionately refer to, this guy, Trustworthy Tim, he forgot to update us on that $9 billion worth of fraud in his fabulous state. Trusty Tim, what gives? You've got the number to the hotline. Here it is. Ring through anytime and state your case. And right now, America, do you hear what I hear? Right, nothing. He's not calling. But there's the hotline right there. Hey, Bill Thomas here. If you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. And don't forget to check out our channel, News Roundup with Bill Thomas. And that's where you can catch our full program and more videos. And we'll see you right back here next time.